Hello and welcome to episode 1043 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, April 22nd. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. We're rocking a little early, so I'm a little sleepy, but other than that, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Yeah, just a little tired. Going
A
early.
big day on tap, though.
Yeah. I'm taking the kid. We're playing hooky from real world work and school, and gonna take them to Six Flags. So
That's excellent.
It's gonna be fun. They're super excited. They were supposed to go back in 2020, and of course
What
COVID
happened?
hit. Yeah. So we've been just putting it off, and finally I was like, you know what? Let's just go. Let's go do it while everybody else is still in school and
Exactly.
the park is empty, and so we're gonna go have a fun day. So if
That
you're
sounds
at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom today, you may run into me.
Keep an eye out, but be polite. Yeah, and hopefully the weather stays at bay. I know you guys have been having a little bit of rain, but that should be a lot of fun. So hopefully you enjoy that. But let's get into our baseball talk then. We got a couple bits of news, and then we're going to get into the shallow league potential cuts that I hinted at on Tuesday. Just some guys that, we've talked about it before. You quit 12s. I'm only in 2. And one of the reasons is that we're so 15-team focused that we have a difficult time managing 12s, specifically with players to cut. At least that's my biggest hurdle. I don't want to speak for you, but that was my biggest hurdle is I see a guy in a 12 that I'm like, maybe I could cut him, but then I think about how in a 15 I would never cut that guy. And it's like, obviously that 3-team difference is massive, but managing that and going in between the two can be difficult. So I respect what you did. And my friend Greg did the same thing. Y'all both just said, I'm out on 12s this year. I just want to do the one type. So I get it. But we're going to try to help those who are in 10s and 12s figure out some guys that need to cut. Because, Justin, one of the things is you can cut somebody and not necessarily be out on them, right? It's not an indictment of like, oh, they suck. But you can't really be patient for a month to 6 weeks in 10s and 12s with kind of your, like, say, 15th round and later guys. You got to start churning. And if they're playing terribly, you got to jump in and make a move. So we're going to talk about a bunch of guys.
Yeah, and that's been my Achilles heel is I tend to be much more passive and patient, and that bites me in 12-team leagues. So I've been much more successful in the 15s. I still do the 12-team DCs. And so I get a little bit of the practice with the, setting my lineups and stuff. Like, the times where it's like, oh, man, I have to bench Gleber Torres. I mean, it did all last season.
Yeah, so some of the guys that you put on your bench, too, that's another aspect.
And it seems so weird, but yeah, let's get into it. I'm ready to discuss some guys you probably should be cutting in those shallower formats.
All right, let's get into it here after a couple bits of news. Let's start with Luis Aureus coming back on a rehab stint from his spring injury. This was a guy I loved coming into the year, and when he hit that quad injury, really pushed him down my board because we knew he was going to miss time. And what we're coming up on 3-4 weeks, if he's going to have a little bit of a rehab stint, it's going to end up being around that 4 or 5 weeks. And that was something that I didn't really want to take. So I kind of stuck with the shares I had, and I wasn't really adding him come main event time because of the missed time. In those aforementioned 10s and 12s, are you going out and looking for Aureus right now to see if he's still out there? Maybe in a shallower situation like ESPN where you only have 3 reserves and a couple ILs. Is Aureus somebody you're ready to jump on? What was your outlook on him this year before the injury?
I mean, I really liked him before the injury. I was definitely ahead of the market in terms of where he was going in ADP. Love the triple eligibility. I really felt like he could keep a lot of the power gains that we saw last year, plus kind of get back some of the batting average that he gave up to get those power gains. And so it was really, really disappointing to see him get hurt. And like you, I kind of avoided him in later drafts just because I didn't want to take the risk. And thank God I did, because a lot of my other players on other temes got hurt. And
this is why you don't invite injury. This is exactly why I don't do it.
Exactly. So, I mean, it kind of depends on what your team looks like. If you are in good shape, he is a great player to add right now in the leagues that he's available because it gives you that triple eligibility.
Yeah.
And the ability to just add a little bit more flexibility to your roster. But if your roster doesn't have much flexibility already because there's already injuries, like, I can't rationalize cutting a Chris Sale for him or someone like that might be, an upper tier player.
Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, I'm still not.
Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, I mean, I'd cut, Trevor Bauer if you've been holding on to him. The news came out today that he's
they just keep kicking the can down the curb,
and I think they're just going to continue the rest of at least for quite a while. So like guys like that may be out a really long
I got one
time.
for you.
Yeah.
Would you cut O'Neal Cruz to pick up Aureus?
Oh, this is a really good question because I saw some people talking about how much O'Neal Cruz is struggling in the minors right now. I think in a shallower format, I would.
Yeah, because that's the only place he's going to really be available. 10s and 12s for Luis Aureus. So you're talking shallower, 15 teams. I don't think he's really available. Check your wire, as always. But I don't really think he's going to be available. So I think I'd cut Cruz at this point. You tried to wait it out a bit. I'm moving on personally.
Yeah, I'm still trying to hold him in the leagues that I've got him, but I completely understand people wanting to move on. I mean, he's striking out like a 28% clip in AAA, and
does have 4 steals though in 5 attempts, so he is running in those 11 games so far. So, again, even if you cut somebody like Cruz, that's a great example of just because I'm cutting him doesn't mean I'm out, and I might circle back and try to get him in fab, even though I got to pay up now when he does come up. So
I would probably wait a week, only because on Cruz, because only Aureus is gonna be probably on a rehab assignment for the next week or two anyways.
Yeah.
And the deadline, I believe, for the extra year of service time is the 24th or 25th of April.
So this weekend or Monday.
Yeah, and so like this is the time. Like if you think there's a guy that might get called up after that deadline passes, like this is the fab run to take those darts, so you don't have to spend the extra money. I mean, if you're not an NFBC, obviously, if you're an NFBC, you can't pick up those guys until they debut. But like,
unless he was drafted and then cut, O'Neal Cruz could have been drafted. And
this is true,
and then he's available to you. That's the way you can get a minor leaguer before they come up.
So, but this is the time to take those dart throws in the hopes that they're up next week. So, like, if you're thinking, hey, Nolan Gorman has been super hot in AAA. Now's the time to take that dart throw if he's not rostered. So, I can
get behind that.
So I might wait just a week on dropping O'Neal Cruz in case, like, if he has a hot weekend. I mean, the stats are so small sample right now.
Oh yeah,
like 2 4 for 4 days.
Not even. I think a couple, a 2 for 4 and a 3 for 4 with a homer in each. And his numbers are completely flipped for O'Neal Cruz. So we moved from Aureus to Cruz there. I will say on Aureus, Jace Peterson, you weren't getting much out of him anyway, but maybe in like an NL only if you were hanging on to him because he was playing a little bit. He gone. He has a 30 WRC plus. He's the one that's going to get kicked out. And then going back to O'Neal Cruz, Kevin Newman has a 75 WRC plus. So there's an avenue there. If O'Neal Cruz gets his numbers up, he could be up. So keep an eye on both. I like what you're saying, though, about try not to cut Cruz if you can afford it to get Aureus. If that's the only guy you can and you want Aureus, I get it. But I like that point about at least waiting through the weekend to try to see if he's one of those first call-ups, especially if he has a big weekend.
Yeah.
All right, last bit of news here. John Gray going back to the IL with a knee. Is he a cut in all formats?
Well, I don't think so. The Rangers said they don't expect him to miss much time.
Okay, so you're not too panicked about this.
I mean, I don't love to see it. He just came off the IL with a blister issue,
and now he's going with a knee. By the way, it is different situations.
So I mean, it's good. It's not an arm issue, right? It's not a shoulder. It's not an elbow or anything like that. But I want him to be on the field and producing for me, and not spending half of the season on the IL. So
he only expects to miss one start. I hadn't seen that, so I feel that 10s I'd still cut him though. I'd still cut John Gray and go for somebody else in a 10 just because I'm burning and churning there.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Glenn Otto is coming up to start today, a guy I really do like, but it might be short term. However, I would say there's room for both. If Glenn Otto has a good start, then I think somebody else needs to be looking over their shoulder when Gray comes back, like a Taylor Hearn who got roughed up a little bit. I like Taylor Hearn. I got some interest in him, but I think he might need to be looking over his back. I think they'll probably keep starting Martin Perez, but we'll see. I like Glenn Otto.
They could move to a 6-man too.
Exactly.
And Spencer Howard is due back on Sunday, so
okay.
It'll get a little crowded, but yeah.
For Otto. He might just get the one and done, but he showed some things last year. The 9.26 ERA, you're like, what are you talking about? 3.82 SIERA though. The underlying skills were there. He had a 4.23 BABIP that really tainted those 23 innings for Glenn Otto. So don't necessarily cut Gray if you don't have to. I was a little preemptive there. Good call out on it just being a short-term issue. All right, let's talk some shallow league potential cuts here, and we'll go through. We'll talk about their roster rate over at ESPN and Yahoo, which caters to shallower formats, and then we'll bring up some alternatives that you might go for in their stead. Let's start with somebody. This is tough for me. Okay, you know that I don't like bringing this one up, but I gotta be honest. I think in shallow leagues, you could move on from Jose Urquidy if you found somebody on the wire that you really liked. 7 ERA, 144 WHIP. Obviously, the numbers I cite, they're all small samples. I grant that, but the underlying skills. 8% strikeout minus walk rate with a 5% swinging strike. It's 9 innings, 2 starts, but it is 2 very bad starts. And he was already a guy that in shallower leagues, you need the ratios because we're not expecting a huge K rate. I've talked about how I do believe he has some strikeout upside, but is not part of the package inherently. Is Jose Urquidy at 82% Yahoo, 76% ESPN? Is he over rostered?
Absolutely. And he was over rostered from the get-go. But I've never been a Jose Urquidy guy. I've never really understood the love for him. I know
pretty straightforward.
I mean, I know people always thought he was going to take another step, but he was a guy who just didn't strike enough people out to really be viable, especially in shallower formats. And,
okay, but let's circle back here. Let's dump these 9 innings real quick.
Yeah.
177 2/3 with a 355, 102. 102 whip is legitimately elite. So you're getting quality ratios, one of them elite, and then 21% K, 5% walk, but with an 11% swinging strike rate that suggests that it's not impossible to bounce up that strikeout rate. The general rule of thumb is that you can be between 2 and 2.5 of your swinging strike rate. You multiply that by 2 to 2.5 to get your strikeout rate. On the upside, we're looking at 27, 28% there with an 11.4 mark. So again, it was never part of the package of like, oh, Urquidy's got Ks, but for me, it was give me some health, and I think the Ks could trickle up, and the ratios are already great. So I'm obviously a big fan. I'm not cutting him in my deeper leagues, but I think the use case of why people liked him was pretty straightforward, personally.
Yeah, I just never really bought in.
You don't like 102 whips?
Not when it comes with very little strikeouts and a lot of health risk. I mean, dude has had a real hard time staying on the mound.
And that's true too, but that's all built into the price.
Yeah, no, the price was fine this year. I just wasn't there for it. And I think he's a cut in probably every format, to be honest.
I think you're making a big mistake if you cut him in 15s right now.
I think he's one of those guys that we talk about. Like, he needs to be on a team. He doesn't necessarily need to be on your team.
It's only one bad start, though, too. The first one was 5 innings, 1 run. The other was 4 innings, 6 runs. It's just that there's 2 strikeouts in both for Urquidy.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
A bit of an issue. But I would not cut him in deeper leagues personally. Justin would. I would stick around and at least see where this goes for.
I mean, in a deeper league, it's all dependent on who's available, right? Like, exactly. Can you get someone worth picking up? Obvious, right now he's healthy, which is great. We want to see him stay on the mound. So, if you were a believer before the start of the season, that shouldn't necessarily make you a disbeliever.
No.
But And I feel that way about a lot of guys. If you believe strongly in someone prior to the season, unless you've seen something like huge velocity drop or real change in skills, don't become a disbeliever. But I was never a believer of this, so it's a little bit of negative confirmation bias here for me.
Yeah, I am a believer, but I would still be open to cutting Urquidy in 10s and 12s because he's a little too highly rostered right now. You can make a move somewhere else and then maybe circle back to him. He's got, let's see here, Urquidy has Seattle and should be Detroit. They have undecided for their 4 games against Detroit. Oh, is that at home? I might need to try to go to Houston next weekend. Or no, pardon me. That's 2 weekends down the line. Next week he gets a trip to Texas, and then it's a 2 start. Sorry, I had my RotoWire projected starters sheet wrong. So at Texas, not the best place to get right now. That team is hitting well, and they don't strike out a ton. So I don't know that that's going to be the place that Urquidy fixes himself. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll kind of keep monitoring him. But I understand right now if you want to move on. Hyun-Jin Ryu is on the IL, so if you've got the IL spot, go ahead and just keep him there if you'd like. But IL spots are starting to pile up, and a lot of leagues don't use unlimited. A lot of leagues have between like 2 and 4, and it's very plausible that you've already got those filled up with higher priority guys. Putting Ryu on the chopping block, it's expected that he's going to miss 2 to 3 starts, a couple weeks here. We talked about how, Hyun-Jin Ryu had a rough year last year off the field too, because he wasn't being able to see his family. And I know some people balked at that, but I think there's room for that to be plausible and it to also not be just an automatic fix, right? Like he could still be having skill degradation while also being happy that he gets to see his family again, right? Because his strikeout rate is way down, 14%, 7% swinging strike rate. Walk rate's still great though, but he's living in the zone with weaker stuff and getting hit around 7 1/3 innings, 2 starts again here. So we're working on tiny samples, but both of his starts were bad. Hyun-Jin Ryu, you cutting him at a given that he's at 56% Yahoo, 77% ESPN.
Yeah, I think in shallower leagues, there's just so many other options on the waiver wire. Like go get a Blackburn, go get those kind of guys that are still out there. I'm even debating cutting him in 15. So if I'm debating cutting him in 15s, and I think it's a foregone conclusion, he should probably be gone in just about every 10 and 12. I know they said he's only going to miss a few turns in the rotation, but I think this is potentially season ending. And
really?
This guy's previous Tommy John. Like I don't love these kind of injuries.
Forearm inflammation, which can be a precursor. So I understand what you're saying. That's just, man, I hope they're right over you on this one.
I hope they're right too, because I have him in a number of DCs where I cannot drop him. And I've always been a Ryu guy. And you root for guys like who went through like personal struggles, So I'd love to see it. I'd love to see him be good and pitch again and pitch well this season. But you throw in the combination of all those things and you say, well, there's a 75% chance he's back in a month or so, right? And you multiply that by there's a 50% chance he's good. And if you know anything about multiplying fractions or multiplying percentages, the more things you multiply, the smaller that percentage gets that he's actually going to be good. And so I think especially in a 10 or 12, I'd rather take the percentage. I'm going to take the guaranteed percentage that someone's pitching over the poor percentage that he's going to come back and then be good again, even since we haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with Ryu too. And it's like, again, if you do have the IL spot, you might as well just hang on just to see what's up. But the second that you need that IL spot, he got to go. I'm out on Ryu at that point in shallow formats, and then I'll keep an eye on him from the sidelines, hoping that he comes back, and then maybe I dip back in at that point. Another one, a little bit of a trend here. You're probably noticing these guys are all kind of soft tossers, and that's why I think they're very cuttable if they're not giving you that K foundation. Because our next guy and our last starting pitcher is Aaron Cevalle, who's at 61 and 65% with Yahoo and ESPN respectively. Another guy, command and control, whose command and control has not been there early on. I do like him, but you're looking at a 6.14 ERA, 164 whip. It's a 420 Sierra, which says, okay, the underlying skill says he's kind of who he is. But maybe that's part of the problem too, is that he is a low fours ERA with a good whip and not much strikeout, not many strikeouts, although a little bit of upside. I think he has similar upside to Rakiti where you could see it developing, but it has to develop. It's not there yet. So is Aaron Cevalle somebody that you're ready to move from in the shallower formats after two mediocre starts? Or one bad one. The Giants one, I'll say he survived. 4 innings, 3 runs, 5 strikeouts against the Giants. I'm actually okay with that. But the KC one, he got walled by KC. So what do you think about Aaron Simali?
I think he could be in hot water with his team. I mean, the Guardians are always a team that have a stack rotation with plenty of options in the minor leagues.
Sure.
And I worry if that he continues to struggle, that they just say, hey, you're going to the bullpen or you're going to the minor leagues. So yeah, I'm a little concerned there as well, especially he's got like a 50% fly ball percentage. And while things have not been leaving the ballpark, as the weather heats up, things will start to leave the ballpark more.
Yeah, 9% homer to fly ball. Sorry, I just want to color what you're saying. 9% homer to fly ball, career 14%. So if that trickles back up with all those fly balls, that could be big trouble for Cevalle, who's already at a 1.2 homer 9.
Yeah, and so if that starts getting to a 1.8 or a 2, then that's really going to be painful, and he just doesn't have the strikeout upside to counteract that potential downside. So yeah, I do think he is a cut in 10 and 12s, and a shopping around the waiver wire in 15s.
Yeah. Let's take a look at some potential alternatives here who are available in a large number of shallower formats. Let's start with Merrill Kelly in Arizona. He's off to a great start. He had a spring boost in velo and a 13-1 strikeout to walk ratio. It was only 7 innings. He had a shortened spring like so many other guys, but he did do some good things that kind of have carried over so far. The velo is up 1 mile per hour. 1 mile per hour or more is when it starts to really be significant. His strikeout rate is through the roof, although I don't know that that's going to hold. He's at 29% with just a 9% swinging strike rate. But I don't need all those strikeouts. Let me have something in the 20s with the ERA and whip that he's putting up. 0.59 ERA, 117 whip. Obviously, the ERA is going to regress, but Merrill Kelly's been really good. He gets a 2-step next week. It's a challenging one. Dodgers and then at the Cards. I'm going for it, though, with him. I like what Merrill Kelly's doing. I would go for this, even with the difficulty of Dodgers Cards. How do you feel about Merrill Kelly, who currently is 54% at Yahoo, 38% at ESPN? So a good bit of availability.
I like this one a lot. Fortunately, if you didn't draft him, you missed kind of a weaker early season schedule that is kind of helping these numbers.
Sure,
but he's got a 50% ground ball percentage right now, and his hard contact percentage is 25%.
And I will say he hasn't benefited from the earlier schedule. He got San Diego, Houston, and then at Washington. So 2 of Merrill Kelly's 3 have actually been pretty tough.
No, there you go. So
they've had an overall, like you're right about their overall schedule, but he's actually caught the brunt of it. Merrill Kelly has. So good on him for standing up against 2 really good teams.
Yeah. I do think the strikeout rate is a bit fraudulent, like you mentioned. Like you said, the swinging strike rate is just under 10%. I will say that, improved control is one of the reasons he's getting more called strike.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yes.
He's being able to paint the corners a little bit more than he has in recent seasons. So, I'm here for the Merrill Kelly love. I think I would potentially roll him out depending on what my other options were for that 2 start. I mean, the Dodgers, they are scary though.
Oh, of course.
And the Cardinals,
you know, we talked about them so much last year, and I kept banging the drum that they are a scary offense, and they just never really got there until that big winning streak. This year, they're there from the jump. They are a tough team, and they don't strike out a ton. So if he comes out of this, I think he needs to be all formats 100% for Merrill Kelly. But I would go get him this week with the two-step. Hopefully that two-step maybe keeps the prices down a little bit too, to where you can get them at a little bit of a cheaper price because people are going to see Dodgers cards and be like, whoa, let me back off. Great call out on the called strikes, 21% for Merrill Kelly, fourth in the league. Behind another huge breakout who we're going to talk about. Let's just go ahead and jump into him. I'll move this guy up a little bit. Paul Blackburn is leading the league in called strike rate right now at a 25% clip, just ahead of Adam Wainwright, who is a called strike god. He is consistently near the top of the league at 24%. Paul Blackburn had a solid start yesterday. Did he leave because he got hit by that batted ball? Because he only threw 62 pitches yesterday against the Orioles, and I thought he was doing really well. That I was surprised that it seemed to be a shortened outing. I'm looking here, and they don't say anything in the note about him.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on. I think they just pulled him early.
I mean, that's really like it was 62 pitches. I think I'm going to look it up here in a moment, but he's had 3 starts now. The velo's been up for Paul Blackburn, and that's been a big issue. Now it did come down this past one. Yesterday it was at 91, which is a little bit more in line with where he's at. 92 plus is where he's been in his first 2 starts. But 15 innings, 3 straight 5-inning starts again at Tampa and at Toronto to open the year. Baltimore was kind of his first little reprieve, and he's been great. How do we feel about Paul Blackburn's jump up? By the way, the 91 actually would be a little jump over his career. 91 plus would be 90.4 is what his career velo was before this. 92.4 is where he's at for the year, though. So we are seeing a velo boost. We are seeing a swinging strike boost. We're seeing a massive walk rate dip and those called strikes for Paul Blackburn. Does he appeal to you?
He does. I wasn't as aggressive on him in Fab as you were, but I did get him in a few spots. And
I got aggro, worrying that people would use my tweet against me and push the numbers up. But I'm fine. I'm happy with what I paid. I paid like 86 in our main against like, what was it? You 13? We're second.
17, I think. Yeah, 13 or 17, like that.
Obviously, I overpaid, but I really wanted to go out and get him, and it was under triple digits, so I still feel pretty good about it. But go ahead.
You know what? I think the one thing we don't talk about in the industry, because what we like to do in the industry is take screenshots of the times we win a guy, by $1 or $2 or even a tie or whatever. I would much rather win someone by 60 than lose someone by 5. And so, I mean, yes, you end up having overpaid, but you didn't know.
No.
You know, this is why victory should be a thing. Victory should be a thing in every league.
Although I will say with $1,000, it's okay. With $100, it absolutely should. And I could get into a whole big thing about that. But I agree with you. And I lost my train of thought otherwise. But I'm with you. I don't want to lose by a couple bucks. It's cool when you get that $1 win when you just barely beat them. But I'm fine winning comfortably for somebody that I really wanted. He does go to San Francisco next week. So if Paul Blackburn's still on your wire, there could be a discount there, again, because of the matchup coming up. Same with the Meryl Kelly thing I'm talking about, because he is still available in a lot of leagues. Oh, what I was going to say was, yes, I overpaid in our league, but in a lot of leagues, I wouldn't have even gotten Blackburn, or like 4 or 5 leagues. I was actually, I think, the 5th or 6th highest. But there were some leagues where I wouldn't have even gotten him. So I was happy that I was able to secure his services. He might end up just being a streamer right now, but he's a team streamer for me. Like, for example, I might pass on next week's start at the Giants, but I'm not going to cut him for that. I'm going to just go ahead and reserve him.
Yeah. What he's doing is, one, the velocity helps. But he's also getting a lot of ground balls. He's letting his defense take care of him, get out of, innings quicker. I didn't even realize like he had been pulled after so few pitches. That is a little concerning.
I think it was because he was hit by a batted ball. It has to be. It had there was one that just I think kind of went off his heel. He didn't seem to show effects from it, but that otherwise he got pulled so early.
Yeah, that's a bit concerning. But I'm definitely intrigued. Like a guy who can get some strikeouts, but also puts that many balls on the ground, pitches in a great ballpark
Excellent park. Yeah.
on a team that really isn't going to replace him with anybody. If anything, there are going to be more spots opening up in that rotation, not fewer. So I like Blackburn a lot, especially in deeper formats. But I think he's a team streamer in your 10s and 12s.
Yeah, I think that's what you're looking at right now with Paul Blackburn. You might even pick him up this week again, and not necessarily use him at San Francisco, but you definitely want him on a roster there. He is at 27 and 25% in Yahoo and ESPN, so widely available. Matt Brash is still pretty widely available in shallower formats, 49% at Yahoo, 24% at ESPN. We saw already, and I kind of like that. You kind of get that taste early of what happens when it can go sideways a bit. And we saw how nasty, like he was so gift worthy in his first outing there with that nasty, nasty breaker. But Houston saw those gifts and said, "Oh, we're not swinging at that shit." And they took 6 walks against him. Now, that didn't hurt him. He only gave up 2 runs because he only had 2 hits. But that's the danger part right now, is the control. Commanding that breaker for Brash is very difficult. But there is a lot to like through 2 starts. How do you feel about Matt Brash and picking him up in shallow leagues for some of these guys that we've been talking about?
I like him a lot. I think that if you're looking for upside, he's the guy to go from these first 3 that we've talked about. Pitches in a great park. He's starting to cement himself into that rotation. Yes, there's going to be bumps. I mean, he's a rookie pitcher. He's still figuring things out. And so, those times where teams are a little bit less swing happy, he might get into some trouble. But thankfully for him, most teams in the league like to swing and miss.
Exactly. He also has a 61% ground ball rate too. So when he is giving up contact, it's on the ground and playable in a lot of cases. And don't forget too, Brash skipped AAA, 55 innings in AA, and he's here in the majors, at least so far, holding his own. So that's pretty impressive stuff from the young Matt Brash.
Yeah, I think he is, like, he should be rostered in every league.
I agree.
I would not want to see him on the wire in my league.
He's far too available. He goes to Miami next week, so you feel really good about slotting him right into the lineup at that point.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So,
I mean, these are the guys that get completely overlooked in your traditional ESPN, Yahoo leagues, and where you can really take advantage of playing against competition that isn't necessarily as informed as you, is going and getting these Matt Brashes, where most people in your home league is like, I don't even know who that is. I've never even heard of him. Well, you're going to hear about him and know about him by next season, and hopefully he'll be on your team.
By May or June, you're going to know.
Yeah.
Like, with the way he's pitching, they could be, like, again, he's not guaranteed. Matt Brash is not locked, loaded, and untouchable with this control. But the sexiness of his stuff means he could have a huge breakout season.
At worst, you're going to get a ton of strikeouts.
Exactly. This next one is a little bit tough because I just don't know how long he's going to be up. So keep that in mind if you go out and try to go get Mackenzie Gore, because he has done well, but they have Blake Snell and Mike Clevenger working their way back. So even if they do a 6-man, that still might have Mackenzie Gore on the outside looking in. Now, I think Clevenger is going to get a pretty extended rehab. Like, he's going to probably get the full length of it. But Mackenzie Gore, the young lefty, had the big spring that everyone was excited about. Then they went and got Sean Manaea, and it's like, well, he's going to start in the minors. Comes up quickly, has had 2 good starts. He was excellent yesterday against the Cincinnati Reds that'd be Thursday at the 21st, depending on when you're listening to this. 7 punchies and 5 shutout innings, 4 hits, 2 walks. He survived against Atlanta. Watching that start, you could tell it was a young kid saying, these are the world champs. I just got to get out to where I can. And I took a lot from that start too in his debut. So the biggest hurdle, like I said, is how long will he be up, with Snell due back soon and then Clevenger already on rehab. But while he's up, how do you feel about Mackenzie Gore?
I love Mackenzie Gore. I've always been a Mackenzie Gore fan. I've never completely jumped off board, even when he went through I guess the yips
Yeah. Yeah.
throughout the last couple of years. I don't know. Like, I know they can, and I know like they already did, right? They already sent him down. Like, but I don't know how they can. Like, especially with how well he's pitching in the majors already. The pedigree, the talent in that arm, the health risk to the rest of that rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that they can go 6-man once Snell is back.
And then wait for Clevenger, and then we'll see what's up. Maybe somebody else.
Maybe somebody else. Shoot, go 7-man. Like, then just like do it at like
7.
Dude,
it'll play itself out as it always does. Remember, I mean,
it's insane that he would be considered the worst of this rotation. I understand why.
The least experienced. I think he's better than Nick Martinez, but they're going to play Nick Martinez. They brought him back over from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't they're not sending him out. That's for sure. He doesn't have any options anyway.
Yeah.
So they might put him to the bullpen if he's struggling. Martinez, but he's been fine in his first 2 starts. So I don't think that that's happening anytime soon. So just be careful with that if you pick up Gore, knowing that he might not be starting, a couple days after you get him. You might only get 1 start and then kind of have to hold, but the talent is through the roof. And once he's turned loose, there could be a lot of excellence there from Gore. What about Brad Keller? He's at 32 and 26% respectively for Yahoo and ESPN. The Royal 26-year-old, he's almost kind of never mind, not with Greinke anymore, but last year he was like the elder statesman in that rotation because they have so many young guys. But now Greinke gets to hold that mantle. Keller at at age 26, is having a little bit of a surge here based on command and control spiking up and his arsenal being changed a little bit. He has a 138 ERA and 0.62 whip. We know those aren't going to hold, but he's been excellent. 22% strikeout rate is a career high, 7% walk rate is a career low, and he does have a corresponding swinging strike rate surge to back the strikeout surge. Mm-hmm. So how do we feel about Brad Keller and what he's doing early on? Do you think he's a shallow league pickup?
I think he's a shallow league team streamer. I think he's a guy that you pick up and you spot start. It's a great home park, a pretty good division to pitch in. Mm-hmm. He's getting like 50% ground balls. He's not giving up a ton of hard contact.
The changeup is the big difference, by the way. He's using that a ton more, about 10 points more.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the swing and strike rate backs up some of these strikeout gains. And he's going somewhat deep in the game. So, I think especially if you're playing in leagues with quality starts, could be nice. That defense
Those
behind
are so
him,
hard to come by these days too.
Oh, there are
quality starts. They're not. They don't exist. And he's going.
I'm in a quality start league, and I mean my rotation's been just decimated by injuries, and now Oscar getting sent down, but.
Hopefully he doesn't punch a wall.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare. I had to trade for Bruce Zimmerman. Like it's just that kind of league. So yeah, it's a little rough right now. I like Brad Keller. I don't think he's ever gonna be a beast or anything like that. So I think in your shallower formats, you pick him up, you use him. You put him back on your bench or even drop him back to the wire when he's got, a bad stretch of starts or something like that. But
starting him at the White Sox next week.
That was the only team in his division where I was thinking that's probably the team I'm not starting in.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good challenge to kind of really see where he's at too with this early success. He beat Detroit and Cleveland playing well though, by the way. So I give him some credit for that. My Tigers, they're whatever. I'm not putting a ton of stock into beating them up. This is a great litmus test to see where Brad Keller's at.
Luis Robert is out with a groin injury. Eloy Jimenez
been horrendous.
Yeah, Eloy Jimenez has been kind of in and out with some nagging stuff as well. Mm-hmm. So I think depending on your other options, you if you're in one of those daily lineup leagues. Yeah, I think I would probably roll him out there.
And Moncada's still out too, by the way. Moncada and Pollock still out. So, they got good backups and everything. But, I I think if I'm picking up Keller, I'm going for this start. What
Yeah.
he's doing right now, I think can be maybe not matchup proof completely, but taking a difficult matchup here, I think I'd go for it with Brad Keller. So here we go. You know what's coming next. I gave you 4 potential alternatives for those guys that were cutting: Meryl Kelly, Paul Blackburn, Matt Brash, Mackenzie Gore, and Brad Keller. Rank them.
Oh, okay. I think Matt Brash is number 1.
Okay.
Then I go Blackburn, Kelly, Gore, Keller.
I go Kelly, Brash, Blackburn, Gore, Keller. But man, if you have a bigger need, I go Keller, Gore, because I do think Gore is going to go back down at least in the short term. And we are talking 10s and 12s where you're not trying to wait on stuff. So my team context would determine the Gore Keller ranking there.
Typically with 10s and 12s, I like to play upside. Because there's so much replay, there will be another Brad Keller or even Merrill Kelly on the waiver wire.
There'll be another Gore though too.
Yeah, but if Gore turns into what we think he can be,
he's a game changer.
Like he's an absolute like league winner type guy. So
I feel that. I feel that.
I tend to push him up a little bit, but I agree with you. I think there's a very high likelihood, unless someone else gets hurt, that he's going back down to the minors.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I see in the chat that Matt Tank almost snatched Brash up for a dynasty league draft, but went with younger guys. Still got him on waivers, so that's awesome that you were able to still come back to him and get Matt Brash. Let's talk catcher from 2 catcher leagues. I got a 1 catcher league cut and I got a 2 catcher league cut. The 2 catcher league cut, Mike Zunino. He's at 91% in the OCs. That's the online championship at RotoWire, or the RotoWire online championship at the NFBC, and 100% in the main event. And I think he's super cuttable. Those rates should be like half that. People were so suckered drafting him. Like who didn't see this? Like, I know it's early. I guess I'm victory lapping way too early. It's gonna burn me now.
Yeah, he's gonna hit like
he does
600 reps though.
Yeah, he does love to burn me. But like, I mean, the bottom has fallen out. He's 1 for 25. Even last year, he hit 216 with those 33 homers. So he took some pain even to get those homers. I do not think he should be near 100% in the OC and at 100% in the main event, though. What do you think about cutting Mike Zunino? And then I'll give you a couple of potential alternatives for those formats.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is definitely cuttable, especially in 12 teams. Especially in 1 catcher formats, if for some reason you're rostering him over any other guy.
This is 2 catchers specifically. That's the only format he should be rostered in. If you have him in
the only format he should be rostered in, but you know some people are in, in like ESPN Yahoo leagues, they pick their guy and then they just roll with it.
Exactly. They take all the pain, even though Zunino hit 33 last year. I'm going to stick with him.
Mm-hmm.
No. 24% Yahoo, 8% ESPN. Cut Zunino in 1 catcher leagues.
Yeah. What were the percentages on those?
24 at Yahoo, 8 at ESPN. ESPN
okay.
Up.
Yeah,
but
ESPN.
Yahoo at 24 is like 5x too high.
Yeah, way too high.
Way too high.
Absolutely.
Are you going to cut him?
I think I would, especially if there are other options.
And you see the 2 that
out
I'm going to give you here.
Yeah.
Zach
Collins one, man, that's hard. He's got a lot of talent in that bat. He really does.
He DHs every day though that he doesn't catch. How is he like? Isn't he just
like a 33% strikeout rate or something like that?
You're cutting Mike Zunino.
Yeah, I know. You're
still improving yourself.
It's the Spider-Man gif. Like they're just pointing at each other. The same guy.
Sort of. I think Zach Collins is a better hitter.
I do too.
Than Zunino. They are similar. I grant that, but that was kind of the point, was to show like get the better version, get the hotter version of that type right now, that all or nothing power dude, because Zach Collins has 2 homers and a 333 average and a 203 WRC plus. Obviously, he's going to come down to earth a bit, but like I said, he's DHing on the days he's not catching, which is really impressive. You know how we feel about non-catching catchers.
Yeah. So I think the problem with Collins is once Danny Jansen is back, Collins is going to the minor leagues. The whole reason they traded for him is because he had options, and Reese McGuire didn't. And so I think once Jansen is back, Collins' head
Kirk's doing.
in
We'll see how Kirk's doing then. I don't think it's so set in stone. The fantasy community, we love Kirk. Like, do something then. Do something. Pedestrian 93 WRC plus right now. With like, we'll see. I'm not saying all I'm saying is that it's possible. If Collins keeps raking and Kirk is just kind of humming along like ho hum, whatever, Kirk's going down, in my opinion, not Collins. We'll see. But we're talking short term anyway. So
Kirk's gonna be fine. Kirk. I don't have any fears on Kirk. I would much rather go to the other guy.
Jonah Heim is the other one here. Jonah Heim's at 27% in the OCs, 66% in the main event. So not as widely available in the main event. Collins is at 15% OC, 47% main event. I'd take either over Zunino easily. You couldn't have paid me to roster Zunino. I just didn't see it. Obviously, he'll be better than this. I'm not stupid. I know he's not a minus 58 WRC plus, but he's not what he was last year. That was a breakout year. He's going to go back to the guy he's been, which is like god-awful batting average and a handful of homers.
Yeah.
So Jonah Heim has that big grand slam that is definitely propping up his numbers a bit, but he was somebody I really liked until they got Mitch Garver. I was taking Jonah Heim in my DCs left and right. Like, yo, there's some breakout here. He has 2 homers, 220 WRC plus, and 20 plate appearances. Jonah Heim right now is only playing against righties, though. They've actually had a big rush of lefties where they've played 4 lefties in their last 6 games. He started against both righties. He's a switch hitter, so it's surprising that he doesn't ever play against lefties, but that just might be because of the other guys that they have playing. Like, actually, I don't know why. I would probably DH him over Andy Ibanez. That's who DH'd yesterday. I don't know. Maybe Heim sucks against lefties. But you said you'd rather have him than Collins for Zunino. Talk to us about Jonah Heim, 27-year-old catcher, backup catcher right now for the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously propped up by a small sample. But so far, everything he's doing is legitimate. He's walking and striking out at a 10% clip. His swing strike rate is down. He is making good contact in the zone. Of course, he's not going to hit 333, but his batting average is 360. So like, it's not like he's getting lucky. He's got a 286 BABIP right now. I like this a lot. I think this is a really sneaky ad, and he should be rostered in just about every 2-catcher league. And I think he is making himself potentially viable for 1-catcher formats.
And I'm looking right now, and like, it's a small sample to even go off of his career splits. He has 93 plate appearances against lefties, but Jonah Heim's been much better against lefties, 793 OPS versus 544 against righties. So I'm wondering why he's only starting against righties right now. I understand that, he's giving Mitch Garver a rest in those days from behind the dish. But again, Andy Ibanez has been the DH the last 2 games against lefties. I'd rather have Jonah Heim there. Maybe they just don't want to start both catchers or something, but I would be.
Maybe because of Mitch Garver's health history, they're scared to put their backup catcher in the game.
That might be it. I understand, but I'm with you. I like Heim.
But Mitch Garver is only a pebble in the sand, and hurting away from hurting himself. So like I like Heim.
Yeah, I do too. So keep a close eye on him. And like you said, he might be playing himself into some 1-catcher leagues if he starts to get more playing time. Speaking of 1-catcher leagues, Kyber Ruiz, a lot of hype for him. I was in on that hype. 82% at Yahoo, 83% at ESPN, but he's not producing, and it's in 1-catcher league. Do you consider moving on? 261, 255, 326. He's got his batting average there, but it's very empty right now with nothing else really going on. The BABIP's at 293. Obviously, some power will start to come through. He's not striking out. Like, he's been himself. It's just with the batting average, which is what you got Ruiz for. but there's nothing else with it right now. And I just wonder if maybe you got to go for some more production, and go for like an Austin Nola or a Francisco Mejia. I'm bringing up the guys that you're replacing him with immediately, because that's it. There has to be somebody I really like. I'm not cutting Ruiz unless I'm really interested in somebody. I'm a big Austin Nola fan. I think I'd make that move in a one catcher league.
I don't know. The underlying skills on Ruiz are just so tantalizing. It's got like a 96% zone contact percentage.
Yeah, I mean the average is there. A 261 from a catcher is good. I grant that.
And
But
I mean, ultimately, what I want from a catcher is not to hurt me. Obviously, you
Austin
love
Nola
to.
ain't hurting you. He's batting 1 or 2 every day.
Yeah, I think Nola's the one I would make the change for. I don't think I'm making the change for Mejia.
Okay.
But
not playing enough.
Yeah, and I just don't think he's that special of a talent. Nola is interesting because, like you said, he has been leading off a fair amount.
1 or 2. He bats 1 or 2 every day. Right
Yeah. I'm really loving him as my 29th round pick. I think in one of my mains. So
not ours, because I got him in ours.
Yeah. Of course not ours.
But I got Grandal, so he's only trying to cancel out some of Grandal's awfulness, dude. I almost included him, but I know nobody's actually going to cut Grandal. But oh my god,
please do not cut Grandal. Yeah, no, please do not.
Unless you're in my league, cut Grandal in my league. But otherwise, do not.
Yeah, I mean, Nola's got a 93% zone contact percentage. So, he's right there with, elite player or, elite zone contact guys like Ruiz. So I can understand making that move. You get on a better team and a better batting spot in the lineup. I don't have a problem moving Nola. In a 2-catcher league, I'd like to have both of them.
For sure.
So these are definitely kind of the high floor kind of catchers I tend to like to roster. If someone drops Ruiz, I'm picking him up too. If I'm in a 10 or a 12, and especially a 2-catcher league, and somebody drops him,
I don't think anyone's going to cut him in 2. If they do, pounce immediately. I would only consider it in 1 catcher for Kyber Ruiz, and it would have to be somebody pretty appealing to go get like an Austin Nola. And I saw Austin Nola's roster rate being at 39 and 19 at Yahoo and ESPN respectively. That's why I brought him up. I'm not looking to cut Kyber Ruiz. Let me be clear. I still like him in a 261 average. Even an empty 261 from a catcher is still positive. You'll take that, and I think he'll figure himself out. But if you're looking to just improve and you don't want to kind of wait on the the power to start coming, go get Nola, because he's doing a great Kyber Ruiz imitation. But I'm with you on Mejia, maybe not going for him, because his playing time is not very, very strong there, because Zunino, the one thing he does do well is catch. He's a great defensive catcher, and Mejia is not getting ancillary playing time at DH or anything. So that does make it tough to go for him, even though he is off to a good start with a 348 average. But he only has a 333 OBP. He hasn't walked yet. He does have a 29% strikeout rate as well. So I'm with you. Not Mejia, but yes to Nola. Let's go to first base. This one pains me too, even more so than the Urquidy one. But again, first base is going to be one of the most rich positions on the waiver wire in shallow formats. So Luke Voit might have to be on the chopping block, given that he's hitting 154, 333, 179. And again, if I did cut him, it would be very much I'm not out on him the way I cut Akil Baddoo in a 10-teamer. But you gotta get guys that are producing, especially at production spots like first base. Are you cutting Luke Voit right now in a 10 or 12 team league?
I think I am.
Sucks.
The underlying skills are not good here. He is. He's got a 66% zone contact percentage. For reference, 83, 84 is typically around league average. I haven't checked what it is yet for this year, but my guess is it'd probably be somewhere around that. His hard hit percentage is 29%. So even when he is making contact, it's not hard contact.
Yeah.
We should call him by his moniker, Luke Freight Train Voit.
Watch out, T-Step.
So
we disagreed on that on
yes,
that
we did.
slide there.
But yeah, I think it's okay to move on. I think he's going to lose playing time if he doesn't,
If he doesn't
figure
turn
things
right.
out. I mean, they brought him in to be power in the middle of that lineup, not lack of power. 31% strikeout rate.
He's walking at a 20% clip. So there's something about seeing the ball a bit, but they got to get some production. And I love Voit. I'm not cutting him in deeper formats, but in shallower ones, I think it's time to move. And for example, you might have somebody on your bench that you might want to put in a deeper format and bench Voit. I can get behind benching him in a deeper format, but I still wouldn't cut him just yet. Got to give him more than 51 plate appearances, but I am pretty bummed at how crappy he's been.
I wonder if like his passivity is the reason why he's struggling though, because he's got his lowest zone swing percentage of his career, but the highest first pitch strike rate of his career. Like pitchers are just going after him.
They're just attacking.
I think he needs to get more aggressive early in counts, and not like try to see so many pitches. It's great that he's walking at a 20% clip, but like that's not going to get it done for us in fantasy or for the Padres for that matter. So yeah, I would unless we start seeing a real change in his aggression, I'm moving on. There's, like you said, too many options at first base.
Yeah, two options that I would look at are Nathaniel Lowe at 44 and 53% respectively, Yahoo and ESPN, G-Man Choi at 28 and 24%. Let's talk about Lowe first. His roster rates are pretty similar to Voit, but I would just make that switch pretty easily. I love both coming into the season. I got both in our main event. So I'm a fan of both guys, but in a shallower league, if I have to choose one, I'm definitely going with Lowe right now. He's been off to a strong start. Are you on the Nathaniel Lowe train?
I was on it before the strong start. He was one of my guys. He is probably the guy that I'm most bummed about not getting more shares of, because I felt like I was higher on him than the market, and then would just get sniped really, really often, especially in my big money drafts. So
here's my 12th ranked first baseman. What he did last year was so strong. I would take that all day. 18-8 with a 264 average. And I figure the 72 ribbies and 75 runs would go up based on the quality of the team, the guys that they went and got. I was like, I'll take a repeat. But if Nathaniel Lowe finds any lift and starts to get the ball up just a bit more, then the power can really take off, because he did that with a 55% ground ball rate. He's still at 59% right now, so he hasn't found that lift, and he's still off to a strong start. He hasn't hit that first homer yet.
92% zone contact percentage. That's why
tearing the cover off the ball in the zone, driving in runs, and batting average at 396 right now. The power will come. I do hope that somebody can get in Nathaniel Lowe's ear and just be like, just a little lift.
What do you think his launch angle is right now?
Oh my God, probably negative.
Negative 0.2.
I was gonna say -5, so I was close-ish. Yeah, but even with that, he's still doing really well with the batting average, so I'll take that all day. What about G-Man Choi? Obviously, in a shallower format, a platoon guy, even a strong side platoon, you want to be careful with. But I would maybe look ahead at the schedule, kind of see what's up. For example, next week they only face one lefty, Marco Gonzalez. The week after that, it looks like it would be Marco Gonzalez again as their only lefty. So only two lefties on the docket projected right now for G-Man Choi. He starts every day against righties for the most part, and he's raking right now. Would you go for G-Man Choi over Luke Voit just based on the fact that he's producing?
Yeah, I think he's like a short-term streamer in the shallower format. So
you're still
obviously
looking for somebody else, even if you pick him up for Voit.
It's really hard. I think on base percentage leagues, yes, because he's just walking a ton on top of raking. In an average league,
OBP.
Yeah, it's insane right now. Like he's got a 26% walk rate. Like it's on top of hitting 393. So
these numbers are silly.
So these are like video game numbers. And so I think you ride the hot streak right now. But and then once he slow down, or they go up against a glut of lefties, you drop him for, the Seth Beer or the Rowdy Teleses, the guys who, kind of on and off teams in
I might even
10s
go
and
for Rowdy
12s.
Telez first. I
I
could have
would too.
included him. I
Daniel
went for
Vogelbach is another example of a guy who's hot right now.
on
Like,
fire. Yep.
yeah,
3 homers. Like that's the thing. And that just gets to my original point with Voit and cutting him. So many options. You can
yeah,
go so many different avenues. The 2 guys that we highlighted here with Lowe and Choi, or Vogelbach, or Telez, or Seth Beer, or a guy we're actually going to talk about at another position. Actually, 2 other guys that we're going to talk about, and I'll reference them when we get there. Let's start with this first one. Gleber Torres, not the guy that could be his replacement. 70 and 74% rostered. Should he be that? Like, he's coming off a brutal year. He has not started off strong. He's not playing every day. Does he need to be that rostered in shallower formats, or is he living off name value right now?
I think he is living off name value right now. I mean, he's walking 4% of the time, hitting 167. And like you said, he's not playing every day. Like, this was the concern when they made those trades for Donaldson and Isaiah kind of Falefa, was somebody was going to lose playing time. And my big fear was it's potentially Torres, because
a lot of people thought it was going to be LeMahieu, though, because of roster resource.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm
Torres.
not Jason, by the way. He just
do the best you can with the information that you've got. I felt it was Torres because of the way they have talked about him publicly and treated him, last year. I honestly thought he was going to get traded. I thought he was going to be part of like a Montas deal.
Trade, yep.
So I would have loved to see him, become I'd love to see him become the Giants' everyday second baseman. But I just don't know what the Giants would trade. I think the Yankees want a major league piece if they're trading a major league piece away. But ultimately, I think he needs a change of scenery. And I don't think he should be rostered on that many 10s and 12s. He should not be rostered on 10-team leagues.
I don't even know what. 70%.
There's got to be guys, that are more valuable. I mean, I don't know if Michael Chavis is the guy that I necessarily want, what he's hitting right now.
Are you familiar with what he's doing? Like, I'm not a Chavis guy at all, but my Twitch chat put me on him when we were going over box scores the other day, and I was like, wow, he is tearing the absolute cover off the ball right now.
But this is who he is, right? Like, he just he is the perfect hot streak guy. Like,
no, this is way different. He's never been having a 7% strikeout rate with an 8% swinging strike rate. He's usually still his all or nothing guy, even when he gets hot. Chavis is making so much contact right now. And obviously his numbers are super gaudy. They're not going to last at this level, 423, 464, 654. But the major strikeout improvement is the biggest difference that I'm seeing with Chavis, and why I'm like, oh, okay, this is a bit more intriguing now. There's playing time to be had in Pittsburgh. He doesn't start against all righties, though. He did start yesterday. He did finally draw a start. Josh Van Meter. Is Josh Van Meter performing well? Is that why they're still playing him? No, not really. So I think he should be starting over Josh Van Meter. I don't know. I got Chavis on my watch list right now, at the very least, for a guy who I had zero interest in. This improved strikeout rate has me at least intrigued by him. We'll get into some other potential guys too, but I think there's some changes with Chavis that are pretty alluring.
You know, it hasn't changed. What has changed is the miss of swing and miss. The swing hasn't changed.
He's still out there.
His zone swing percentage. Guess what his zone swing percentage is. I'm not even going to say it. I want you to guess.
94.
It's almost exactly 94 fucking percent. 93.9.
He is
swinging before the pitcher has even decided what he's throwing. He's like,
where he's throwing 3 times at one pitch.
It's a 43.60 swing percentage. Like, he He is just, I am going up there to swing the bat. I'm not going to see any pitches. And he's making an insane amount of contact in the zone. 96.8% zone contact percentage.
Is this a way of expressing concern that the strikeout rate will go up? Because it's only an 8% swinging strike rate, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is just someone who is dialed in a way that is unreal right now. Like, there's no way this is sustainable at its current rate. Does it mean like he's going to like regress back into the player he was? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, he's making a ton of contact. That is a good sign. But this is unsustainable at an unsustainable level, and I just don't know how far it's going to come crashing back. But you ride the hot streak. You go.
I'd still take him over Gleber. Yep.
Yeah, you pick him up. You may get like 2 really, really good weeks, and then it comes crashing back to earth. But like even crashing back to earth may be still playable in some format. So
yeah,
you know,
let's talk about 2 teammates then too. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I wrote up his teammate last night, Daniel Vogelbach, in the road write-up, and I said, like, you know, being on the Pirates gives you a level of safety because they don't have options.
Yeah.
So like even if he, you know, starts to regress hard, like he'll probably still play a fair amount.
Yeah, what's Josh Van Meter doing? The only guy I would say that maybe I would prefer is if Diego Castillo could get that playing time. I'd be interested in that a bit more. Yeah, but Chavis, you know, with that huge swinging success right now, I'm interested, and I would take him over Gleber. What about a couple teammates out in Oakland though? Sheldon Noisy and Tony Kemp. Both are widely available here. Sheldon Noisy's up to the 2 spot in the lineup right now. He got moved up this week. In the last 3 games, he's batted 2. Kemp has been leading off all year. They're both second base eligible. How do you feel about the 2 Oakland A's, Sheldon Noisy and Tony Kemp, as Gleber Torres replacements?
I like both of them. I don't think that either are like world beaters by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think they're going to hurt you.
Could kind of be.
Noisy's really interesting.
When he gets into his power, because it hasn't quite been there yet, I think he could be. And we've talked about Kemp a bunch and how much he confounded me this year with those amazing plate skills. I didn't know if I should buy into it because he doesn't have a whole lot of pop. I'm kind of regretting not buying into it. But Noisy's somebody, I liked him his first time around with Oakland. He goes over to the Dodgers, gets buried, never really sees the light of day there, 66 plate appearances in the majors with them. But now he's back. Everyday PT is there. He is striking out a bit too much, but there's power there. Whereas Kemp is more of kind of, great plate skills. Again, he's walking way more than he's striking out. Good batting average, 2 steals already. It's kind of like, what do you want? Do you want the power from Noisy, or do you want the speed and batting average from Kemp? So you can kind of choose your own adventure with those 2, depending on team need, right?
Yeah, I think I still lean Kemp. I think the profile is ultimately safer. He's more of that Oakland A's type guy. Noisy not walking. It's like walking at like a 4% clip, striking out. Yeah, and I think there are going to be good stretches with Noisy. I just don't know. Honestly, I'm not super comfortable with the A's. I don't know like what they're doing. They bring.
Well, why wouldn't they play him though? They brought Noisy back. He's 27. You don't think like how bad would it have to be for them to not play him?
I really don't know. Like that's like I just don't have a lot of trust in the organization, and I don't think that Noisy. Like I think there is power in the bat. I still think that he has some mechanical changes. Like he's got a 6-degree launch angle. Like that's not going to lead to a lot of power in Oakland. And I just feel a lot more comfortable about Kemp's playing time.
Kemp ain't going anywhere. He's leading off.
Yeah, exactly. He's leading off. He's stealing bases. There's a tiny bit of pop there, not much. So like I don't even think he has a barrel yet this year.
He only had 3 all of last year. And that was part of why I was reluctant.
Yeah,
like, if he gets double-digit steals with a good batting average, it's not really going to matter where the pop's at.
Yeah, and a fair amount of runs scored even in a bad lineup. So
yeah, on Noisy, I don't know why they'd move him up to 2 and then not play him. You talk about the playing time. Maybe
they're missing a ton of guys right now.
True, but again, he was playing already too. He just moved up the lineup.
Yeah.
The thing for me is I'm replacing Gleber. it can be short term. I don't mind. Like, I'm not worried about Noisy's long-term PT because I might be moving on to somebody else anyway.
That's a
So
really good point.
it's not an unfair concern for you to bring up, but for the 10s and 12s that I'm looking at right now, I'm not as worried about it. I'm just riding the hot streak with him right now. Anyway, I still agree with you though that Kemp is the precedent or the preference over Noisy. And are both of them preferences over Chavis for you?
I think if I'm looking for upside and knowing I can get a guy like Kemp on the waiver wire normally in 10s and 12s, I think I'm riding with Chavis. Like, I think I'm riding the hot streak. Like, what he's doing is insane and unsustainable, but I'll take it. Like, it's definitely going to regress, but like, I'm interested to see how far it regresses. Like, he could be utterly unplayable in a week.
Sure, because he has been to this point in his career. But this, I took notice of this, and that's why I brought up Michael.
We know at least you're gonna get power. Like, there is just a ton of power in the bat, and you just have to love the contact he's making right now.
It's a good combo.
It's they're definitely gonna be strikeouts coming, but for right now, man, go for it.
How excited are you to get back to shitting on Dansby Swanson?
Whew.
Dude, what is this, man? He had he was one stolen base short of a double-double last year, but 27 homers, 9 steals, 248 average, 88 ribbies, 78 runs. That's just like solid, strong, capable shortstop, or your MI if you got like a premium shortstop early on. Not over the top, but certainly reliable and believable. Who is this guy? 42% K rate, 143, 208, 224. Obviously, he'll get better than that, but I don't see any reason to still hang on to Dansby Swanson in shallower leagues, and he's 87 and 84% respectively. What's going on? Why are people holding on to him? I mean, I know it's name value, but like, what are they doing?
Man, it's hard.
This is the deepest position, though. You should not be holding.
Yeah, that's the hard part. It's like in 10s and 12s, like there has to be better players in the waiver wire.
Jeremy Pena's 51, 41%. That's Yahoo and ESPN. Whenever I say that, by the way,
that is you've got to drop him for Jeremy Pena. Like that
all day. What about your boy Thairo Estrada, who's 19 and 4? Like, he's super available. I almost prefer Thairo Estrada.
I mean,
you need guys that you need performance in shallower leagues.
Like, Estrada's like a super low upside play. And so I'd almost rather just bench Swanson and use whoever is on my bench than drop him for Estrada. Like, Estrada's going to play, though, because they are dealing with injuries left and right. The Giants are.
Yeah, you guys, your platoon capability has been cut into because of that. Now he has 2 homers and 2 steals. Actually, I didn't realize Estrada's average had kind of smoothed back out. That's the problem with the small samples. I think he was hitting 280 like 2 days ago, and then all of a sudden he's down to 236. But I'm not too worried about that. He's a contact guy. His batting average will go back up.
His batting average is going to be very BABIP dependent. He makes a lot of contact, but it's not a lot of like you're not going to see a lot of barrels from him.
This is Estrada we're talking about, Thairo Estrada.
Yeah, so like Thairo Estrada is like a really fun kind of really Donovan Solano-esque, that's to make a really easy, lazy comparison.
It's not even lazy. I think it's perfect. That's exactly who he is. And so you know the value of Solano. That's what Estrada's value is. I got one for you.
Yeah.
I'll finish up on Estrada.
I was going to say, I don't think normally he would play this much, but I think because the Giants are so banged up right now, he has to play every day. And so I think, he's a short-term kind of filler guy. I don't know that I want to drop Swanson for him because I do think Swanson's going to be fine. So
he's going to be better than this, but I don't know if he's going to be fine, man. Like, he's striking out like crazy. He already hit a 248 last year. What if the average is like more in the 230s, 220s? Do you think he's going to get all the way back up to 248?
Probably not. But I do think he's going to be 20-plus homers and
he's not
double-digit stolen bases. Like, if someone here's it. If someone drops Swanson in my league, I'm picking him up. How
And
am
that's
I the
okay.
one defending Dansby?
I know. I
What
was about to
in
say
the
that.
world?
But also, this is what I'm talking about, though. Just because you're cutting somebody doesn't mean that you're in a shallow league, doesn't mean you're out on them or you think they totally suck.
Yeah.
But if the rest of your team is struggling and he's part of it and he's the most cuttable guy because your other guys are all
Yeah.
superstars, I think you need to make a move. The
I think
Pena
that's
one,
fair.
the Pena one I would do in a second.
Absolutely.
I got some real love for Pena. What about your boy, long-term friend of the show? Not friend of the show, like we're a fan of his on the show, Jorge Mateo.
Oh yeah, I'm dropping Swanson for Mateo.
He's at 17 and 7%
Yeah.
respectively. He's
Especially
super
because you get the
available.
multi-positional eligibility, which is so key in those shallower formats. Yeah, it's been especially daily moves format. So, yeah, I would take Mateo.
Okay, Pena or Mateo? Still Pena?
Pena, yeah.
Yeah, Pena, Mateo, and then I'm with you. Somebody just go with that person. But if you need anything breathing, Estrada can be that guy in a short-term situation.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the outfield for a couple guys. Joey Gallo is in one of his Joey Gallo slumps. He's been here before. And again, I'm just going to reiterate. I know I literally just said it, but just because you're cutting him doesn't even mean that you think he sucks, but you just might need some production right now. And he just might be your most cuttable guy. He's at 76 and 79%, doesn't have a homer yet, 238 BABIP, 0% homer to fly ball, obviously, since he doesn't have any homers. I think he's going to be fine because I think he's just kind of like his strikeout rate's where it kind of always is, walk rate's there, but he's just not producing right now. Would you be interested, open to cutting Joey Gallo right now in shallow formats?
I think I would, because yeah, he's going to be fine. But what is that fine batting average going to look like? It's still going to be bad, and something's going on with him. Like his fly ball percentage is 38% right now.
Oof. And he was bad in New York last year too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to do the whole like he can't hack New York. I don't think it's that, but he has not been good as a New York player.
Yeah. I mean, I think there is a reasonable, outcome that he's just bad. And I love the power, but the batting average is going to sink you. And if you're in points leagues or head-to-head categories, like these, like you can't roster a guy like this.
No. Any points that counts negatives for strikeouts, I would never draft him. I would never.
Even like he's not even like putting up like an elite walk rate necessarily. I mean, it's 14%, but like on base percentage leagues, that's still a 256 on base percentage. Like that's a killer.
Yeah, at least last year he had a 351 OVP with his 199 average. So it's rough out there with Gallo. We'll get into some replacements here in a moment, but what about Ryan Mountcastle at 89 and 84% respectively? Mountcastle was somebody late in draft season, and it wasn't just the fence move. It was looking deeper at the plate skills and thinking that maybe last year was his career year, but I started to back off of him and move him down my list. I'm not suggesting that I'm 100% right because of 54 plate appearances. I'm just saying I already had some caution with him, and he's off to a tough start with the 235, 278, 314 with those plate skills being exposed with a 28% strikeout rate, 4% walk rate. Is Mountcastle over rostered at 89 and 84%?
Probably. I still believe in the skills, but at
least he has a homer, unlike Gallo.
Well, the homer was like, I think, opening day.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. Because it was one of those things like he had a home run, and I was like, oh no. Like I backed off of Mountcastle with the part change, and now I'm going to pay for this.
You reverse victory lapped yourself?
Yeah.
Like, I got that wrong.
Well, especially because Danielle drafted him in TGFBI, so I was all like, oh no. He's going to like crush for her, and I'm going to look silly. Yeah, I really didn't like the part change for him, and that's the main reason I backed off. And I don't think he's any reason you have to roster him if there's a better option on your waiver wire. We're going to talk about
I think there are some better options.
Quite a few that I would much rather have at this point. I think the only thing that benefits him is the multi-positional eligibility.
Infield, outfield, too.
Yeah, which is really nice.
How nice that is. All right, well, let's talk about some replacements here and talk about if we're cutting Gallo and Mountcastle for these guys. Andrew McCutchen.
Yes.
is at 20. I know you like him a lot, so I'm with you too. He's at 23 and 45%. He's batting 4 every day, and the days he isn't against lefties, he's batting 1. So he's 1 or 4. And I think the best part right now for McCutchen, in addition to the playing time, I think the playing time is the best part. But the other good part is that he hasn't been. Actually, I'm checking my work here. Never mind. He actually has gone back down against righties. I was going to say he started off a little bit better against them, but this is the problem with small samples. But he's playing every day. He's in the middle of the lineup of a solid lineup. You said yes already, but yeah, you're cutting both for McCutchen.
I mean, I was mostly joking. Yeah,
He does
I
have
think
2 SBs.
he has 2 stolen bases, no home runs though. I mean,
He's not striking out. 16%
sitting 250 though.
I know.
And he's not walking. Like he isn't.
That is the weird part. Only 6%.
I think it's probably a lateral move.
Okay.
And so I would probably do it for Gallo, but not for Mountcastle.
Okay. I got some others that'll wet your whistle a little more. I don't know why I said that. That sounded weird.
Yeah.
I'm a weird person. Jurickson Profar, is this finally the breakout? Oh, I root for him so hard, man. I really like Jurickson Profar. I mean, this has been like a decade in the making. He's got a couple 2010 seasons. Actually, it's a 2010 and a 29 back-to-back seasons in 18 and 19. This year's already got 4 homers and a steal. Equal strikeout to walk rates at 16% each, 255, 388, 615. He's been excellent so far. Is there some viability here with Jurickson Profar, who's playing every day and batting in the middle of San Diego's lineup? He's at 48 and 57% rostered, respectively.
Yes, there is some viability here, and how banged up the offense of the Padres are. Like, for all their depth on the pitching side, like they don't have the depth on the hitting side. I think he's gonna put himself in a position where he needs to play every day and play in a decent spot in that lineup. And in a lot of leagues, he's multi-positional eligible. Yeah, I'm here for this. I think
I'd take him over both right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Profar over both Gallo and Mountcastle.
Yeah, I mean he should be definitely rostered in more leagues than like 50%.
At Yahoo and ESPN, he's got first, second, and outfield.
Yeah,
so triple eligibility for.
I think he's an easy pickup for all these guys. Like, yeah,
totally agree. And like I said, I mean, his roster rate moved up even overnight because he has been performing well. So he's not going to be as widely available. He's actually at 58 and 62 now. But go check, because that's still a decent bit of availability. What about going back to your boys on the Giants here? This is a very much G-Man Choi-esque in terms of a heavy platoon, but Jock Peterson is batting 4 against righties, and y'all been facing a ton of righties. So he's up to 297, 333, 568 with 3 homers and a steal. Do you go for Jock over either of these guys? Similar sort of like all or nothing kind of power profile. Do you prefer the guy who's hitting right now over the other two? And by the way, I will say only one lefty on the docket next week with Patrick Corbin, so he's only going to sit once. Jock Peterson, what do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, even on the days he does face the Giants do face a lefty, like he's going to come into the game at some point. Yeah, I think I do. I've always been a Jock Peterson guy. I always thought, I really thought he was going to be like a 30-20 guy.
I did too, dude. I fell for his minor league speed.
And like, I just love him so much, like from a personality standpoint. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to keep this batting average up, but if anybody knows how to utilize hitters, it's the Giants. Like they're really, really good at figuring out how to best platoon guys and use guys. They're doing a great job early on in the season, getting a lot out of him. I do think that he is going to be viable, especially if you're playing in daily lineups. Like if you're in daily lineups and you can get him out of your lineup, against lefties, he could be really, really money. So I would be dropping both Mountcastle or Gallo, especially Gallo, but Mountcastle I think is viable for a drop there as well.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on Jock Peterson for either of those guys. And then the last one was a little bit of a flavor of the week last week. Everyone kind of got excited about Taylor Ward, and I think with good cause. He's at 13 and 4% though, so it was more of a deep league rush to get Taylor Ward. Do shallow leagues need to catch up? Because this guy, Joe Madden said he's the right fielder with your boy Marsh and Joe Adele being in a platoon role. Right now, they're all three playing because Trout is nicked up. But Taylor Ward is the starting right fielder, and he's batting 2 right now. He started at 4 on his first day off the IL, then 3, and then the last 3 games he's been batting 2. Is Taylor Ward somebody that needs to be picked up for one or both of these guys?
Absolutely. He is probably my number one pickup out of these outfielders. And we know there's power in that bat, but he is showing Vaughtoian
I like that.
plate discipline, and just a batting eye. His O swing last year was 29%. His O swing so far this year, 19.4%. And he's making like league average contact in the zone, but he is just spitting on anything that isn't in the strike zone. Love to see that. And there's power. And like you said, the most important thing is Joe Madden loves this guy.
Yeah,
like, absolutely love it. He's gonna play. That's a good lineup. I like Ward a lot.
I'm a huge fan of Taylor Ward. I'm not the biggest though, because I didn't get him anywhere because the prices were through the roof. I thought I was being aggro, pushing him up into my bids ranged from 65 to 90 in the leagues that I bid on him, and I didn't get him anywhere. People were putting triple digits out there in our league.
Yeah,
Dalton
like $180. Yeah,
and like he also put the 550 on Josh Lowe, though 555. So he is like broke.
Yeah,
he's broke right now. But I do love Taylor Ward, and I do think there's a lot of viability here. And they're still super available in shallow leagues. I think Taylor Ward needs to be rostered big time. I can't believe he's only 13 and 4% at Yahoo and ESPN. Even 3 outfielders. This guy's batting 2 in an amazing lineup.
Yeah.
Obviously, when Trout comes back, he won't necessarily be batting 2. But if he's batting 3 or 4,
but this is the hitter version of Matt Brash, right? It's like it's the unknown name that people who just aren't in tune with things and aren't like following things on a day-to-day basis just don't know about. And so, yeah, I mean, he's going to fly under the radar, so take advantage of it now, when everybody else is like, starts to figure it out in a week or 2.
Did you get him anywhere?
I didn't.
I mean, it was not easy.
It was, people got aggressive on him.
Yeah, there was a lot of love in that match.
I'm also stacked in the outfield in most of my leagues.
Must be nice, jerk.
Like outfield is not my problem.
Remember when he was a catcher eligible?
Oh, that was
came up as a
awesome. Catcher. Yeah, that was awesome. I would have loved to see him keep that. Just catch enough games.
He'd have gone for $300 if he was catcher eligible.
He would have been drafted.
That's true. Yeah. He likely would have just been drafted, and people would have waited for him to come up as a C2. That's fair there. All right, those are the potential cuttables here. Jose Urquidy, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Aaron Cevalle, 2 catcher leagues, Mike Zunino, 1 catcher leagues, Kyber Ruiz, Luke Voigt, Gleber Torres, Dansby Swanson, Joey Gallo, Ryan Mountcastle. You can start considering cutting these guys. You have to be aggressive in 10s and 12s, or you're never getting the Taylor Wards or the Matt Brashes if you just sit on your hands and wait for everybody. Some of these guys are going to end up being studs this year. I don't know which ones. That's not the point. Scott Pianowski always makes a great point when he talks about this. If you never make a mistake cutting somebody, you're being too patient. You're not being aggressive enough and getting the numbers that you need, and you're likely falling short in counting categories. Yes, you'll make a mistake. It's not even necessarily a mistake. Like I know if I cut Luke Voigt that he could be a beast. He's one of my favorite players. I wouldn't be surprised if he still hits 30 with his eyes closed. But right now, I got to go get Nathaniel Lowe or Joy. I got to go get somebody who's producing. So it is a difficult situation, especially if you play a lot of deep leagues like Justin and I do. And that's why Justin said, I'm out on 12s. I don't like the back and forth of having to figure out who's a cut in 15 and not in 12 and vice versa. So I totally get that. but a lot of folks play 10s and 12s, and you have to be aggressive and churn a particular portion of your roster if you want to win. So here's some guys there that you could possibly cut.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, I think we're starting to get like a little bit of coming around on shallower formats. I think for years we would hear people kind of in the industry, and I was one of them, make fun of people who played in 8 and 10 team leagues and things like that. But the more that I played in them, because I needed to play in them in order to give proper advice, the more I learned, it's just a different game.
Different challenges.
That's all. My lack of success in those shows they're not easy.
No.
Because league you have to make different decisions. Yeah.
League depth does not dictate difficulty or quality. They're different skills. And maybe you like to scratch the deep ends of the pool. And so you want to be trying to go for, Tyro Estrada as a key player because you're in an NL only and he's a huge middle infielder or something. In the 10 and 12, it's just a different skill set. It's figuring out the best stars, playing the hot hands, different skills. And I used to be that douche too. Or if you're not playing in a 15-team NL Central only with guys who have an S in their name, then you're not really playing fantasy. And that was Dildonic, very stupid of me. And I learned the error of my ways. All leagues have their own challenges. 8-team league, 6-team league, you still got major challenges there. Yes, everyone's going to have an all-star team, but that's not what dictates quality or difficulty of a league. So good luck to those who are making some cuts this week. You got to start making some tough ones, but there's plenty of players on the wire to go get. Justin, have a wonderful time at Six Flags and a good weekend. You working with Justin or Jason this weekend?
We are hopefully getting together this weekend. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Maybe some 2 starts, maybe some pickups. We'll see.
Sounds great. Till then, take care.
Take it easy.